What if like I'm a total lame ass interviewee and you guys are like,
If it sucks, I just won't put it out.
We'll just get up and leave.
Yeah.
I'll put the headphones down. I'll get my backpack.
Poop on the table and go.
Da-da-da-da-da.
The aristocrats. Ta-da! Welcome back, Frank. We're out of here.
Here's the microphone.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
All communication lines are clear. Clear.
Communications are picking up the signal.
You are listening to Stay Tuned El Paso with Victor Cruz and Charlie Moreno.
The best thing to happen to El Paso ever. The greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Hey, fuckers.
Is Chewy still here?
Chewy is not here.
What, is that the ghost of Chewy left over? Wow.
This is L7 Shit List. I'm not sure if you guys recognize this.
I know L7. I don't know the song. Let me hear it.
No? Any takers? Erica?
I don't know it, but I like it.
This is from one of the opening scenes in Natural Born Killers, where the trucker at the diner starts hitting on Jennifer Lewis's Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes, Elaine from Seinfeld. She was in Natural Born Killers.
Yeah,
it's the extended cut.
He starts flirting with her, and they're dancing, and she's doing that Elaine dance.
Yeah, and Kramer comes in giddy up.
Yeah, and then she punches him right in the face, and then this song comes out in the jukebox.
That's why I never saw it.
Natural Born Killers. But I had that from the last episode, and I just never took it off, and I never used it, so I figured, what the hell.
You're listening to Stay Tuned El Paso. It's Victor Cruz, Charlie Moreno. Episode number 26.
Yeah.
I missed the golden anniversary 25 episode.
Yes, you did.
We were having a bit of a Thanksgiving holiday celebration, food fest, and fun.
And then we took a week off.
And then we took some time off. I don't know if, as we're recording, it's the beginning of December, which, by the way, it's really hard to get into the holiday mode when you're sweating balls outside at 73 degrees. You go to the stores, and all the stores are playing Christmas music, which I have issue with, number one. But number two, you're sweating in Target listening to Silver Bells. Is that right? Are we okay?
I think
Is the earth at a tilt? Is our axis all right?
The Christmas music always started around Thanksgiving. That's fine. I have no problems with it. The weather, it's hard to tell that it's.
Is this global warming, or is this a natural thing that's happening?
Let's hope so.
Should I be worried?
Let's hope we're closer to the end.
I know as we're recording Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to get really cold. But I mean, it's just hard.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's supposed to drop down into the 50s.
Are you going to switch to capris instead of shorts?
The shorts will go a little bit longer. The socks will come up. I'm wearing the cutoff socks.
All wool socks.
Yeah, wool socks. But I'm insulated, baby. What are you talking about? You see the hair on this body? I'm taken care of. And the Christmas music, 20 plus years, as I've always said, 20 plus years in radio, the Christmas music is creeping in earlier and earlier. There's always some jackass radio station that'll start playing the Christmas music right after Halloween.
Yeah.
And I do have issue with that. Studies have shown that people actually don't like it. The radio stations will try to say, oh, well, it puts people in a good mood, and it 3 months of Christmas music? Are you kidding me?
What is your favorite Christmas song?
Probably Elvis Blue Christmas. And that's it. That's all. Let me just hear that once in a while.
What is that one from Mike? What's his name? Michael's Last Christmas.
Oh, yeah. See,
that one gets played a lot.
Gets played, and of course, Mariah Carey starts creeping in also. And I understand they're classics now. They're almost part of the standards that you would hear.
I think Mariah Carey should only come out during the holiday season. I think that's best for her career at this point.
She would be the Christmas groundhog.
Yes.
And only show up then.
And hopefully she'll stay back in for 2 weeks.
For another 2 weeks after Christmas, and then that's it. I don't mind that. It's just, and I made the prediction a while back, and I guarantee you.
You can cuss.
I know. It's been a while. I forget what the rules are of the podcast. I guarantee you that somewhere, somehow, and I know you can do it with Spotify and Pandora these days, but some radio station is going to start playing Christmas music all the time.
Yeah.
Some radio station executive is going to go, you know what? That's a good idea. We should be all Christmas all the time.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Right. Well, it's going to happen. But I mean, you can still do it on your smartphones. You can still do it on your apps.
Doesn't Sirius XM actually have like a station for that already? Like where you can just listen to Christmas music all year round?
Sirius will bring it out about now, though. No, not all
really?
year. Yeah.
Oh.
No, that's why I'm saying somebody's going to try to capitalize and jump on that.
I don't know if there's money to be made in that.
Well, you mark my words. Son of a bitches get earlier and earlier every year. It's going to happen. So we're talking Christmas. You hate the holidays.
Fuck Christmas.
So do you have any major plans?
No,
Nothing for work.
I'm gonna try to work as much as I can. That way, I don't have to deal with the shit. And I'm staying away from the east side, especially the Hawkins area. Mm-hmm. I'm staying away from there. I'm staying away from Sunland Park Drive. I'm staying away from the Outlet Mall.
But don't you get now? Come on, a little bit now. Don't you want to go see the Christmas lights? Take your lovely wife, take up to East Ridge and see that, and get some hot. Get some hot.
Says no.
Hot cocoa.
Fuck that.
I wish people could see Charlie standing up, leering down on me as I'm saying.
I haven't even put Christmas lights on my house yet, even though my wife's asked me for like 3 weeks.
The Christmas tree, anything?
I don't have a Christmas tree up.
No?
I'm thinking about putting something. See, the thing is, I don't like the holidays. For my wife, I'll do it. I'll decorate. The dogs really don't care about the holidays either. They're kind of like me. They piss on the tree. They just they're throwing shit around.
Yeah.
But I don't mind decorating. I just don't get around to it because I'm trying to work as much as I can. I have no real issue with the holidays themselves. I just hate groups of people plus the holidays.
But you're getting better about it.
I'm trying to.
You're getting a little bit better. Maybe you'll put up a little tabletop tree or something.
No, I go all out at my house. But that's the thing. I don't invite people over. I don't do a gift, white elephant gift, or I don't do that.
No ugly sweater contest at your place?
I hate the whole white elephant gift exchange so much. I quit my job many years ago so I wouldn't have to do that.
You avoid it. And then you got rehired again right about January
I started
15th.
my own job. That way I don't give shit to anybody for Christmas. No discounts, no gift cards.
Well, we're speaking of the joys of the holidays and some of the things that we may have missed since the last podcast. Charles Manson died.
Yay!
Hooray!
Yay.
Are we all in agreement? Yay!
I think so.
Yeah. The fact that he never physically did anything, does that just go past anybody? I mean, that's
okay.
According to him,
technically, he never actually physically killed anybody, but he was knowingly, willingly, and intentionally manipulating people to do it for him.
For all intents and purposes, he was the mastermind.
Yeah, part of that.
So he knew what he was doing. By the way, if you don't know much about Charles Manson, I guarantee you can, especially now since he's passed, you can go back and research all kinds of information and old videos and interviews. And a lot of the interviews, he says he's innocent in the sense that he never did anything. He never killed anybody physically. He never had his hands dirty. If he had somebody else,
he waited in the car.
Yeah, or whatever, or sent out his
so heroic.
Yeah, sent out his followers to go take care of it. But I mean, now, does that mean he was almost? And I hate using the word because I don't want people to think I'm defending Charles Manson or a fan of. But does that make him a genius in that he never did? Is that what a true cult leader does? Sends out his followers to do his dirty work and is essentially clean? In other words, his message was, whatever it is you think, fine. If you think that's what I am, I'll play that character. I'm just mesmerized by the whole thing, and
I think he's a figure of pop culture, and I think a lot of people in their teens maybe looked up to him for a number of reasons: his music, his art, his poetry. Guns N' Roses did remakes of his songs.
They released albums after
the Beach
fact.
Boys. Before the fact, the Beach Boys did one of his songs, and I think that's what made him a pop culture icon. His interviews with Geraldo, and they
legendary. I mean, I hate saying that, but they're legendary.
But that's the thing. His nonsense that he spewed for decades, people took that as, oh, he's an intelligent man. If you slow down his speech and you actually listen to it bits and pieces, the guy was an idiot. He really was. He tries to sound intellectual, but he contradicts himself all the time. He's a moron. People listen to that, they think, oh, this is brilliant. It's not. If you cut it down into chunks and actually analyze what he's talking about, the guy was a complete moron.
But the fact,
but he had an audience.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And again, I'm not glorifying him. I'm not saying that. I don't want anybody not to say, "Oh, well, Victor Cruz loves Charles Manson." That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply pointing out.
Put your shorts back on, Vic.
Let me erase the swastika from my forehead. The fact of the matter is, you nailed it. He's a pop culture icon.
Yeah.
But he's been that since the '60s, '70s. 80s,
69.
90s. Yeah, we're talking, almost 40 years now, 50.
Well, yeah, but then the murders themselves have also been immortalized. I mean, they talk about him all the time, so it's really hard to forget what he's done, and that in turn brings him back into light.
You're right.
So that's why he won't go away, and he's probably never going to go away, just like, I mean, she was pregnant.
Sharon Tate.
You're never going to forget that.
Yeah.
It was horrifying.
If you talk to a lot of Manson fans, and I'm going back many years, but when I was in high school, and a lot of people thought Manson was the shit. I remember the Guns N' Roses shirt with Manson on the front was on there. That was popular.
I actually had a Charles Manson shirt.
I had that shirt also.
Well, I didn't have that one. I just had one that had him looking weird, and the caption was, "Is it hot in here or am I crazy?"
Yeah.
I love that shirt.
And I think when you ask a lot of people about that are fans of Charles Manson for whatever reason, and I was one of those kids, I was one of those teenagers. I had his music and stuff like that, and
the anti-hero. Do you think is that what?
Well, I
people
think
were looking up to him.
It depends on the stage of your life. I think a lot of teenagers looked up to him because he was trying to fight the system. He was trying to be the guy against the man. But it's kind of like if you read The Catcher in the Rye when you're a teenager, you admire Holden Caulfield. Mm-hmm. And then when you're a grown-up, you look at him like, that guy was such a pussy. He's such a bitch. Mm-hmm. Because you mature. You get older and you look at life differently, and you realize this guy was just a little bitch. He was just a little punk.
So then if you're 50 years old,
I think if
admiring Charles Manson.
If you're 30 years old or older and admire Charles Manson, there's something wrong with you.
You've got some issues.
Yeah.
I don't.
I can see where you're coming from, Victor, where you're saying the anti-hero. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, he was an idiot. He was a moron. It's really hard to place him anywhere because
he's Charles Manson. I mean, he's in his own area.
It's Charles Manson.
Or was.
His eyes speak for him. It's like, look, I'm not here entirely. I'm just as crazy as my eyes are.
I always loved, what was it, every 5-6 years when he'd go up for parole. And sometimes he'd show up, and you knew the parole board, no matter what he said.
There was one of these parole hearings where he actually gets up and starts pretending like he's directing traffic. And he's an attention seeker. He loves the spotlight. And that's why I say he has an audience. As long as you keep giving him that audience, he's going to get more followers because people look at crazy and say, oh, I like that guy.
And that was the parole. I used to love the parole hearings because you didn't know if he was going to direct traffic, or one time he went up and he was as legit as he could possibly be, and they still denied him. And then the next couple of years, he just stopped showing up because even he knew, well, this ain't gonna. Well, but you knew the parole board was never. I think we would have been more in shock if they granted it to him. Are you kidding me?
I think deep down inside, he knew he wasn't going to get out, and like Charlie said, he's just there for the attention. So he's like, well, let's see what I'm going to do today. And he just goes crazy.
It's all attention seeking. Look at his forehead. Before it was a swastika, it was an X.
Right.
And then people stopped talking about it, so he made it into a swastika. I mean, a lot of his behavior is basically just attention seeking.
And do you say
that's because his mom left him? That's because he was an orphan. That was because of all of that.
He'd been in jail in and out his whole life at 13.
He needed a father figure, a mother figure.
And so now that he's no longer with us, do you say rest in peace or do you say good riddance?
Good riddance.
Welcome. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, but good riddance.
Well, you wouldn't.
No, not at all.
But he would. Well, that's Charles Manson. I mean, it happened, and I don't want to say he was our generation's.
How dark did this episode get?
We went from Christmas lights to Charles.
What
Charles
just
Manson.
happened?
Well, I mean, that's just how it goes here. Stay
Good Lord,
tuned.
Victor, what happened on your Thanksgiving dinner?
I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. I missed an episode.
It was a month ago. He said, "Oh, I hate talking about death," and all of a sudden he brings this up.
How was Chewy? How did Chewy do? I know we missed out on. I missed out on Chewy.
Chewy was a blast. Chewy is fun.
I
and
listened to the episode and a few things. By the way, we're not responsible for anything that Chewy may have said. If you want to go back to episode number 25, listen to Chewy's comments. Those were strictly all Chewy.
I don't know, man. Last week I heard something from Charlie that was a little
I
disconcerting.
almost drove off the freeway listening to the episode laughing. But by the way, thanks to Nequium Studios for letting us come and record. It's
That's
where we
right.
are. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's
check
an
them
awesome
out
place.
at nequiumphoto.com. Pin up in boudoir. I found out the correct way to pronounce it is boudoir. You actually say the R.
Oh, you do?
If it's French.
Boudoir.
Boudoir. I was saying bidet.
But
That's
not
totally
correct.
different.
Way
That's
different.
completely different.
Way different.
But boudoir and pin up photography studio, nequiumphoto.com.
Did you have a chance, Erica, to walk around the studio? I mean, it's huge. There's a whole other complex on the other side of us over
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Did you see
I
it?
think that's
Oh, you were
actually what
here.
led to us sitting in
this?
here today.
Okay.
I'm
I'm afraid to ask.
I couldn't get her back into the table to talk to her.
She was stuck over
She
there?
was, why, Erica? Stop licking the wall.
Nice.
Stop it. That's disgusting.
Nice.
What's wrong with your wrists? Nothing.
I have no idea what
Put some
that
plastic
means.
wrap on your tongue before you do that.
And wash up, for God's sakes. Can we even joke like that anymore? Goodness gracious, the downfall of the tsunami of sexual allegations
Oh, my
that
goodness.
continue. I don't even want to talk about it because I don't think we have enough time to.
There's
but names that are coming out that nobody would have suspected, or did everybody suspect? I have no
Matt
idea.
Lauer has always been a creep.
He's always creeping me out.
Beastie Boys' father, Adam Yauch, his dad.
And yeah, and Mike
And he
himself
doesn't
said,
support him. He
Right.
says, I believe it.
I believe it happened.
Unreal. Does it continue? Are we going to see the end of it?
This brings me back to my point, though. You can out people on Twitter all day. If there's no police reports, if there's no civil lawsuits, it's not going to mean anything over time.
The only bad thing is that their reputation is sullied.
Well,
Whether there's any actual proof or anything concrete to show for it, it's going to be sullied.
we're at a point now where just the word allegation means end of the career.
Yes.
Even if
Unfortunately.
you just allegedly. Well, sorry. You're done.
Now, I saw a clip from the Today Show where Hoda, the female host,
The drunk?
and the other one
The lush.
are starting to
The
rub
drunk or the lush? Which one? There's one of the
Both.
two.
There's two of them.
Yeah.
Jenna Bush was there also, and they're putting oil on one guy's chest and everything, and the guy looks uncomfortable, and I think Al Roker is in the background saying like, "Okay, this is awkward."
This is weird.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying not to undermine the allegations from women against men, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that women will do, especially on TV, especially on reality shows, that goes by the wayside because, it's a woman doing it. It's not a big deal. I'm sure the guy enjoyed it. And I said my story about my days in comedy and getting sexually assaulted, basically hand job through the pants and me not being able to move. But that's okay. It's not a big deal.
Because you're a man.
Because I'm a guy.
See, I think that
I can't be sexually assaulted.
We're going to get another letter from Eileen. We're going to get
We can
another
have her
email.
on the show.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking we're going to have to.
Eileen, if you're listening, if you want to be on the show, I'll take that day off.
Just show me how to run everything, would you? Show me how to
I'll come by,
start.
hit record, and then I'll
Come back in an
I'll go-
hour.
I'll go have lunch with Erica.
I'm down. Lunchtime.
Speaking of Erica, let's start talking to Erica. Erica Leibus, a dear friend of both of ours. I think we met her mutually. I don't know.
I wanted to ask her how we met because I can't remember. It's been a while.
I can't either. I don't even know how this happened.
I have no idea.
Any one of us?
I met Victor through Charlie.
Through Charlie.
me.
Okay.
Yes. I met you through Charlie. Charlie?
I have no idea.
I have no
was
clue.
Was it MySpace or was it Facebook?
No, it was Facebook. It wasn't
Facebook?
as far back as MySpace.
Wow,
remember.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Let me just take a moment here because
I
we have somebody else. MySpace before Facebook was another social media site. I don't know how you can cut up on that. It's pretty much gone
I have
now.
the best profile, all right? I have the best
On MySpace?
With music and everything.
Yeah. Oh, music! Remember, you could go in and somebody
the
and
HTML
listen.
and the About Me section.
Oh, man!
Good way to
Somebody
get
bring
hacked.
back MySpace.
Let me insert some JavaScript in there.
Good way to get hacked. So
Oh,
you
man.
guys, but how did you guys become friends via
don't know.
Facebook?
I don't know.
I would have to look at our mutual friends and kind of pinpoint it. I think I was friends with somebody else that knew her, and I made comments, and
I'm
she
sure
made comments, and something.
It had to have been something inappropriate that I must have laughed at.
Yeah. And
From
I must have
Charlie?
said-
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
yeah,
yes.
definitely, yeah.
Yes.
Because back then, and this is how we'll start getting into stuff. Were you an EMT still then, or
I
starting?
still am, but yeah, I've been in for 11 years now, and I've known Charlie for.
Which boggles my mind because you look like you're 20.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, no doubt we'll get some pictures and stuff. But if you see,
that sounds great.
Oh, yay!
if you see, yeah,
Let's upload some photos
Oh, we've got
with
props
this
and
episode.
stuff.
On
Like
the
I
dungeon.
can stand right
Right.
there. There's the
We
what
should be
is
doing
X.
the live stream.
yeah.
It's
There's
the what is X.
there's a dungeon. People are. We're saying the dungeon. I'm sure people are getting ideas of being in a lower level area. No,
Well-
right now we are in a dungeon.
Well, I
Literally
mean,
in the basement
technically,
of a
we are
building.
in a lower level
It's
area.
painted
Yeah.
black. There's a big wooden X with shackles and
Straps.
and there's girdles and whips.
Bad over to the corner. Thank
a
you,
fun
Neck.
time.
By
And
the way,
there's
thank
bed.
you, Nequium, for letting us come and hang out here, Nequium Studios. That's where we're recording
It's
at.
all business. It really is.
Yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
the business that you guys are probably thinking about.
We'll give her the. I'd give her the business. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So what I started to say was Erica is all of what 5 foot
Two.
4 maybe at best 5'2".
5'2".
And you're carrying as an EMT. You're built. This has got to be the most horrible thing I'll ever say, but you can carry, you can hold, you can drag people around as an EMT.
We don't drag.
Are you
we
able
move.
to actually function?
Can
Yeah.
you perform your job duties as required?
But you're
Yes,
a
yes, I
woman.
can.
But you're a girl.
You don't have balls. No, I don't. Let's make that very clear. I have no balls. Well,
We'll take your word.
I mean, no actual physical balls.
Absolutely. How do you decide at what point in your life? Let's get into it. How do you decide? Well, I'll be an EMT. I'll go save people's lives.
It was a serendipitous segue, is what I'll call it.
Really?
Yes. I wanted to be a doctor. For the longest time, I wanted to be a doctor.
Who?
Not Doctor Who. Oh, that was awesome.
That's
You
nice.
had to.
A little play on words with
Perfect.
Doctor Who.
You know, Erica. And then?
I started going to school, and I went to UTEP, and this was right after high school. Like, I jumped right back into school, and I'm sitting in there in what was supposed to be an advanced placement English class, and the instructor starts talking about the verb. I dropped all my classes and walked away. I couldn't do it. It was just, I learned about the verb in elementary school. Like, I couldn't do this. I mean, I'm paying for this shit.
Right.
And no.
Right.
There's a predicate also.
Yes.
A subject.
I didn't know until I went to UTEP.
Nice.
But I ended up getting out. A friend of mine, I had done sports med in high school. And one of my sports med friends told me that she was going to take the EMT course and that I should try it out. And I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. And I went, and I haven't looked back since. I took the class, and then once I did my ride-alongs, I was hooked.
Really?
Yeah. Normally, the ride-alongs are what'll either make you or break you.
Right.
Your first, either like really bad trauma or your first CPR, you're done. You can't do it anymore. But I loved it. Helping people out was the best reward you could ever ask for. I mean, the pay is total shit.
Yeah.
Unless you get a government job, which here, oh man, people backstab and do all sorts of stuff for that job. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. It's just
Well,
like,
I mean, that's
just driving up more
it's
business.
It's
Yeah.
bad. No, but not if you're getting picked up by the other people. And no. But
So I mean, I'm asking all the obvious questions because I'm sure people want to know.
Yes.
So the first, only because I pretty much already know the answer, but how do you deal with what you have to see on a daily or nightly basis? Obviously, your sense of perception, your sense of humor, you're twisted. You're shifted to the right a little bit.
I mean, yeah, Charlie last week told me I was worse than Chewy, and I'm pretty sure that's in a lot of senses.
We should have had Chewy join us.
Oh man, I don't know.
Little rap battle.
Yeah, I don't think you two could handle both of them.
The East Coast versus West Coast of the EMTs.
But
I want to see if Erica can actually deadlift Chewy. I have a feeling she can.
I think she could.
Yeah, if properly placed on a stretcher, I'm pretty sure I could put him in the back of an ambulance.
That just means you have to get him off his scooter. Did he show up with his scooter? No scooter? Damn.
No, we took the elevator down together, and I looked at the capacity number really for a long time.
I'll take the stairs.
I'll meet you downstairs.
I'll meet you at the bottom.
If we fall, it's only 50 feet, I think. So not
jump
too
at
bad.
the end. Is that a defense mechanism that all EMTs or most EMTs need to have?
Yeah, I think so. I think as a whole, we're a very dark and twisted group. It takes a special kind of crazy to do what we do. You can't just be normal right off the street and do it.
So you've seen, and I kind of want to, but I don't want to get into like all the gore stuff. What's the absolute? Well, see, it's a different question.
The most grotesque thing that you've seen on a call. Without giving, obviously,
too much.
Obviously. Yeah, no, I'm a vault. You're not going to get any of that out of me. But I've seen, it depends. And it's kind of like, I think it's what Victor was trying to get to. It depends on what you're talking about specifically. I mean, I've had suicides where obviously they shoot themselves in the head. I've worn other people's brains for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I've worn other people's blood on my forehead. And I swear it wasn't like this Braveheart kind of thing. It just happened, and I freaked out when I found out because I'm like a germaphobe.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've had pedestrians hit by cars that, from the hips down, they look like spaghetti.
Yeah.
Every bone in their legs is broken. Their pelvis is shattered. You can see it. Brains all over the windshield, and about 500 yards from the vehicle, you could see the trajectory of the body. I've seen just about everything.
So you've seen you ready? Here's the loaded question.
Uh-oh.
You know where this is going. So you've seen just about everything, and it doesn't affect you on the job.
On the job, no.
What does affect you? What is something that you've seen where you've just said no?
Kids will always break me.
Your paycheck.
What's the one thing that brings you to tears?
Spot on every single time. Every single time. And the worst thing
is,
this
anymore.
This is bullshit. I just worked 7 days straight. What is this? No, but in all seriousness, the paycheck's horrible. I'm more appalled by my paycheck.
I thought she was going to say, in all seriousness, when kids get hurt. No, she goes right to the paycheck.
I'm more appalled by my paycheck than the stuff that I have to walk through.
I think it's because when you get to the scene and you see these things, your job is there to be there and help.
Oh, yeah.
Your job, it's not like you're just somebody walking down the street and you decide to just stay and look.
You're doing your job.
You're actually helping.
Oh,
and that's why I think it's a lot different than me, because if I'm walking down the street and I see
shit.
I'm just going to stand there. I have no reason to be there, but I'm just going to be like, hey, you guys need help with anything?
I liken it to when, you tell somebody, well, I work morning radio. Oh, God, you got to get up at 4:30? How do you get up at 4:30? Well, that's my job. That's what I got to do. It's not like I'm waking you up one day at 4:30.
Yeah,
I got to do it.
Like when everybody tells me, how do you wake up every time? Because I have to, man. I don't want to. I'd rather stay asleep in bed at 4 in the morning when I haven't slept. Yeah, it's my job.
And so now you've been doing the EMT, but you recently moved over to
a hospital.
I'm at a hospital now. It's a little, it's so different. Yeah. Completely different.
Literally, you were riding in the ambulance.
Yes,
you were waiting for calls.
I was 911.
Yeah.
I was 911 I was 911.
And now, what's different from that, besides the obvious, but what's different from that now in the hospital?
Well, now it's not.
You're receiving, maybe? You're getting the people?
You're receiving, but when you're out there on the box and you're doing the 911 thing, you show up to all sorts of chaos. You're the one who's there to fix everything.
Right.
So you walk in, there's family members crying, there's all sorts of stuff going crazy, there's people dying, people hurt, and it's your job to maintain some sort of peace and calm.
Are you supposed to, not you, but are the EMTs, yes, you. Are you supposed to keep the family calm, or are you just there to do your job? Are you counselor? Are you grief?
You're not a counselor, but you can't work if they're freaking out. Mm-hmm. Either you establish the tone by maintaining calm on the scene, which in turn makes them calm down, or you have the sheriffs remove them. It's one or the other, because there comes a point where if they're really, really bad, which understandably we walk into all sorts of horrible things, and family will be distraught. But
and let's be honest, somebody's as on the other end of it, you're the EMT. You've seen the worst of the worst.
And they haven't.
But the family, this is somebody's not waking up or something. This is the worst as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, and the empathy is there. By all means, the empathy is there. I get it. But at the same time, I have a job to do.
Right.
It's just like every time I would show up on scene, you need to run. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not going to run. This is not TV. This is not Third Watch. I'm not running.
Do you get a lot of that? Do you get a lot of people who think they just because they watched Third Watch or MASH or whatever, they know how to do something?
Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Give me a butter knife. I want to cut his throat.
You're doing it wrong. That's not how you do it.
A
He
rusty
needs
butter
an
knife.
airway. No, stop, please. No. Yeah, I've had family members yell at me. You need to run. No, for what? And that was one of the things that I would get the most complaints about. That I had no sense of urgency, and it's like I have lots of urgency. I just don't see why I need to run around like a chicken with my head cut off. If I'm running around, that doesn't help family calm down.
And so you don't, obviously, again, and going back to the original question, is you don't get a lot of that now in the hospital.
I mean, we get it, and there are times where we are caught unaware. They'll drive stab victims. They'll drive unconscious babies to the front. Family members will bring them into the front. So they're in the front. We don't know them. By the time they're coming to the back, I mean, we've got our nurses running in with the patients to the back rooms. And when you see a nurse running in with a limp baby, you never get used to that. But when we're there, like, we have doctors, we have interventionists, we have higher levels of care. We aren't, in EMS, we are not definitive care. We are a higher level of care, obviously, because we can perform and give more aid than the regular layperson. But we're not doctors. So our end goal on every call is to take this patient and make sure that they make it to definitive care.
How do you separate that? How do you sleep at night? How do you go home?
Not very well.
Yeah, apparently. How do you separate? I have a hard time sometimes with work, saying, okay, I'm not working anymore, I'm at home. And I'm sure Charlie has the same situation. Yours has to be times 1,000. How do you go home and what's your release? How do you not have a dream about what you've done all day long?
You do. They don't go away. There's calls now that I can still just recall. It doesn't go away. You just have to learn how to deal with it. Lately and more recently, it's becoming more accepted to where a lot of the people in our profession, be it firefighters, police, all first responders, it's coming more to the table where we do have PTSD, varying forms of it, and a lot of us, we mask it. We all have PTSD in some form.
What's your release? Do you go home, you play video games, you read, you watch movies? Do you have a release? Do you look at something and go, well, let me just get through the rest of the day today, and then I'm going to go do a garden. I'm going to go bake cookies or some shit.
I think just getting away from the place is enough at times. Just being able to separate yourself from the actual physical location where this is going on.
Really?
When I was on the ambulance, it was leaving the station, going home. Going home, I could shut it off and just be like, I'm home. There were other days where calls were so bad, I just couldn't wait to get home and just see my kid.
And and then that's again the second obvious question is, as a single parent, as somebody who has a kid at home, pets, whatever. Obviously, that's a bit of a release for you as well.
Oh yeah.
Is it harder for you? Do you think?
Kid calls have gotten exponentially harder. I mean, they were always hard. It was always hard dealing with kids dying. It's always going to be hard, no matter who you are or how tough you try to be as an EMS provider. It's going to be tough. I still remember my first pediatric CPR. Really? I remember her eyes. I remember the way she looked. It doesn't go away.
No.
Mm-mm.
Would you want it to go away? I mean, do you think keeping it with you helps you?
It does, because if you let those calls break you every single time, it makes it so much harder to do your job. You have to because it's a really, really bad shock to the body. Kids aren't supposed to die, you know? So it's not that you get used to it. It's that you know that they need you. And you're the one that's there to help them. And if you fall apart right now, they've got no one else. You can't call somebody else in and be like, hey, I need you to take this call because I'm crying.
Right.
No. You need to do your job.
10, 12 years you've been doing?
11.
11 years here in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen a friend? Have you helped a friend? Have you had to pick up a friend and say, hey?
Yes. Actually, it was a former coworker.
Really?
And she passed away. Her mom called because she found her in bed and she had passed away. And we walked in. I at this point, the decision's mine, whether we do CPR or not. And I saw her and I knew we couldn't. She was gone all night. And we had to let her go. And Mom kept yelling at us, do something, do something. And I took Mom aside and I said, look, if I could, I would, because I know your daughter. Mm-hmm. But I can't. There's nothing more we can do.
Then go back. How much information do you have before you make it to a call?
It depends. I mean, it really depends. There's times where all we get is no information and all we get is an address. And you've got a female. And at that point, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to show up and take my crew into a call that we have no information about. Right. So I'm going to sit around and wait until we get more info. Or at least the sheriff show up or the police shows up and clears the scene. So one of the important things is always to give the most information you can, because it will delay response. Because I'm not going to show up to an unknown age female with an injury. Mm-hmm. Because how did she get injured? Was she assaulted? Was she shot? Was she stabbed? Is the assailant still there?
Yeah, why pull yourself into a situation?
And I won't. There's a lot of these new kids, man. They just show up. You've got a patient who's been shot. Okay. And they show up. It's like, no. Is the police there? Have they cleared the scene? Did they get the suspect? Have we gotten clearance? No, just, okay. No. A dead rescuer is no rescuer.
I'm a paramedic. They won't shoot you.
Oh, they will. Trust me, they'll shoot you for lesser reasons than that.
Have you been in a situation, not getting shot, but have you been in that? Is that a typical? Is that a typical situation where they're going to harm you because you're not doing your job? You're not coming in. Have family members pushed you aside and said, "Get out"? That's it.
All the time. And when it gets to that point, I've been lucky to where when it has happened, I've had law enforcement on scene. So right away I just look over and they've already seen what's happened and they start taking people out of the rooms and moving them away so we can do our job. There was one particular car accident in the middle of the night where we showed up and there was two females in one vehicle. One of them was supposedly unconscious, but she was just really, really, really intoxicated. But her friends, it was a two-vehicle accident, and her friends were on the other side. There was one police officer on scene. And they were screaming at the girl that crashed into them saying, we're going to kill you. Mm-hmm. We're going to kill you. I was like, oh, this is great. So then I'm standing there checking on the unconscious female. And I don't know, well, because there was only one deputy on scene, they broke through. And I had two females yelling behind me, like right on me. Why aren't you doing anything? And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Were they being ratchet?
Oh, quite ratchet.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I never knew. Right. And we used to call it ghetto. I guess you can't. I guess that's not correct anymore.
It's the new term now.
Well,
ghetto.
And they were screaming right behind me, and like right on my back. And I looked at my partner. I said, "Let's go." And he's like, "But let's go. She's unconscious. Either you're getting in this truck or I'm leaving without you." And he jumped in the truck and we moved out. And we waited until the deputies called back and said, you can come back in. I'm not going to get assaulted for anyone.
Just because the ambulance and the EMT shows up does not mean they're going to take care of the situation.
No.
If you as the EMT is not safe.
Yes. If it at any point becomes unsafe, I am sorry. I don't care what's going on. I'm making it home every single day. Mm-hmm. So if you want help, please behave. Act right.
And do you tell them that? I mean, obviously, you almost have to state that.
Well, afterwards, I came back and I transported the one female that wasn't. Well, I transported both of them, the unconscious one and the other one that was in the vehicle with her. And her friend, actually, the one that was awake, thanked me. She says, "Thank you for coming back."
Stories about being an EMT, being in the ER. You know, I have my great story with you that I'll share before everything's said and done. I have to share my story with Erica.
Yes, you do.
We've been friends for so long, and we've had lunches and foods and dinners and all things. But I have to tell you the great story with Erica, because that will always stick out of everything. B, have a seat. Sit down. B's been our audience participation member, and Charlie, she's soon to be part of our network of podcasting, is my understanding. Yep, absolute. B, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
B, welcome to Stay Tuned El Paso. Welcome to our podcasting family. Without giving away too much, because I know she's going to be doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and just helping out with us. Really appreciate you hanging with us. Give us a bit, though. I understand you have a cafe, a little bit of a restaurant thing that's going on. Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's called Café de Tolteca, and it's downtown El Paso, across from the federal courthouse. It's in the Toltec building. I actually named it after the building. So the building is super historic. Used to be the headquarters of Pancho Villa at one point.
Every building.
President, right?
Every
a lot of
place
buildings,
here
yeah.
We're in his basement right now. But
Oh, God.
This was his basement.
This was his favorite sex toy.
The X right behind us.
We haven't quite gone into detail about what we were talking about earlier.
That's all right.
You just gave it away,
I
B.
know.
Just gave it away.
That's post podcast.
We lost the mystery.
Settle down, Vic. That's post podcast. It's been a long weekend. I'm just telling you. That's all I'm saying. So inside, what type of food do we have there?
So right now, I needed to get this part installed in my kitchen to be able to serve food. You know, I'm waiting for that inspection. So that's going to come within the next couple weeks. But for now, we offer coffee and specialty drinks. Right now, we're using a roaster from Albuquerque called Red Rock Roasters. They're really cool. They do everything organic and fair trade. Obviously, they certify to appeal to their clients, but even their stuff that they don't pay to have certified to make it more accessible price-wise, they still, vow that they pay farmers fairly, like 3 times market price, and they have like personal connections with growers all over the world, and so that's kind of why I chose them.
Here's one thing about B. I met her last week, and from what I can tell, she's like very environmentally friendly, very nature conscientious, which is great.
Yeah,
she's a great person. I kind of no. Well, and this is what I was gonna say, but I kind of fell in love with her a little bit. Yeah. She's a sweet, kind soul.
So thank you.
But she's a great person from what I can tell so far.
Thank you.
Don't make me regret that.
She's an EMT.
Yeah.
Not only can she save you, she knows how to hurt you.
She's like, I can bench you with one arm.
Right?
Not quite, but I'll figure something out.
Eventually, is this what you wanted to do? Growing up, having a cafe, or this kind of fall into you? Or
I've always been really, really interested in, obviously you called me out, kind of like environmental sustainability, agriculture specifically. I studied in Oregon. I do beekeeping. I've always just really been interested in food systems and like responsible food systems. So this was kind of a way that I could be back in my community, serving my community, and like funnel my passions through like business, because I guess I need to like pay bills and like eat and help my family and stuff. So
there you have it, folks.
I just want to point out a beekeeper named B.
Oh,
I love it when shit like that works out.
Ask her how she spells it.
How do you spell it?
BEE.
I love it. That's like a lawyer named Shyster. This is great.
That's good.
This is awesome. So what type of food are we going to be? Obviously the healthy alternative stuff. Are we doing sandwiches? You're going to get more type of stuff in to do what types of foods?
So I wanted to do a lot of sandwiches, soup, salads. I have a lot of recipes, but also one of the focuses of the cafe is keeping everything regional. So like I said, the coffee roaster. We try to have a lot of regionally inspired drinks. Our house drink is called the arroz con café, which is like inspired by like my grandmother's arroz con leche.
That's great.
We try to support like local vendors as much as we can. We have a partnership with Bowie Bakery, And so I want to use a bunch of local stuff like pecans, piñon, like stuff like that, you know.
Do you do any type of events at the cafe?
Oh yeah, we have tons of events.
How did I know?
Yeah, weekly we have like pretty much like multiple events weekly. We have classical guitarists. We've had grindcore punk bands from Italy. Recently, we just had a band called Bitlip from Canada play, like punk. I guess we had a bunch of punk and metal shows for a while, but now we're kind of getting more into like a lot of acoustic shows. We have a modern art show coming up, a Christmas fair, all kinds of stuff. You would hate that fair.
Look, he already had that look on his face. He was already like scowling at you.
Balling up his fist.
You had him at grindcore, then you lost him at Christmas. You lost him at Christmas. That's where he went out. If people want more information, I mean, obviously you want lunchtime hours. Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter, social media?
Sure, yeah. I keep the Facebook and Instagram updated daily. It's Café de Tolteca. Luckily, we're the first one, so, you know, just like that. We're open Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we do open.
Jeez.
We do open weekends and evenings for events, but other than that, we just don't really have the traffic yet. But hopefully, you know, we can expand our menu, expand our hours and everything with more support from the community.
How much traffic downtown do you get right now? Is the construction hurting you? And do you get a lot of like maybe even jury duty selection? Or you get a lot of traffic downtown?
During the daytime, we do get a lot of traffic from the offices. You know, we have the federal building, the courthouses, and we do get people who are bored while they're waiting for jury duty, stuff like that.
But knowing that you're open that early, I mean, maybe that's even going to help you out a little bit.
I think we need to open earlier because you'd be surprised. A lot of people there are already on their way to work, walking by my door at 7 a.m. I'm like, oh, I wish I could like open my door and give you coffee, but I still have to do the register.
I'm not quite ready for this yet.
B, it's been a pleasure. I mean, you've been great just hanging out with us. This is fantastic. And, of course, I look forward to having you on our podcast, I guess, maybe a few times you can hang out with us and some of the other things that you're going to be doing in our little podcast network. I think it's great. And obviously, we'll need to swing by and check out the place. And
absolutely.
Highly recommend going by. Thank you so much for spending time.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Before you leave, I need to tell my story with Eric and why the whole reason to bringing her in really for me was just to tell this story.
Oh, great.
Never mind all the great stuff that she was telling us, all the great informative things. So about a year and a half last June, if you haven't caught on yet, I think, yes, we've made mention of it. We've talked about it during the podcast. I actually had open heart surgery, and I don't want to get too far into detail because we've talked about it already. I could talk about it ad nauseum. But one of the things I was really, during the whole procedure, I should say, knowing that I was going to have open heart surgery, it was about 3 or 4 days before the actual event happened. I'd gone in with chest pains. You're going to have surgery. It's going to be a couple of days.
Let me just interrupt here.
Yeah.
Victor is one of those classic examples of you should have called 911.
Well, I know.
But you didn't.
But because it went away. And hindsight 2020, yeah.
I'm sure you understand why now.
Well, yeah, but even if it happened to me now, well, no, I shouldn't say that.
No.
The reason why I didn't, because I discredited it to something else.
Yeah,
I thought something else was going on.
This was one of those times when you're like, hey, my friend's an EMT. Maybe I should tell her, hey, I'm having chest pain. But then it went away.
It would go away.
But knowing you're a diabetic, I would have been like, oh, shit, go to the hospital. Why are you waiting?
Bottom line is I was having a series of mini heart attacks is what it boiled down to. So now I'm checked in. Now I'm in the hospital, and now I have to wait for the actual procedure to go through. And, it was really funny, and you've heard me say this a few times. Yeah. I wasn't worried about the surgery. I mean, of course I was. I was worried about not coming through. I was worried about all those things that you would worry about. But I really wasn't worried about the surgery. My attitude at the time, and even now still is, well, if this is going to happen, let's do it. If I have to have surgery, then I have to have surgery.
Well, I mean, it's either that or
other
a better, a worse alternative. So.
Right. So I wasn't scared about, oh, my God, I'm going to have open heart. That wasn't what I was worried about. In fact, as they're prepping you for the surgery, they're going through all these things that, God bless Las Palmas, where I was at. Was that the east side?
Del Sol.
Del Sol. God bless Del Sol. Edit that. God bless Del Sol, where I was at. They did everything they could possibly do for me to keep me comfortable, to keep my state of mind, because I would have gone crazy. And
Their cardiac care unit is great.
It was amazing. It was amazing, except for that nurse that I can't stand that I used to tell you about that you still have to have. It's a whole nother story. But I'd say all that to get to this point. They kept telling me in prep, you're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you're going to wake up out of surgery with a tube in your mouth. You're going to have a tube in your mouth. You're going to have a tube down your throat. It's a breathing tube. Don't freak out. You're going to wake up and you're going to have this tube in your mouth. Don't freak out. Knowing what I do, I've done radio, I talk, I communicate, I talk a lot, as you can tell. I could not have a tube in my mouth. No, I will freak out. I'm going to freak the fuck out if I wake up with a tube in my mouth. So one of the last people I got to see the night before my surgery was our dear friend Erica, who came to visit me.
Oh, God.
And what's the first thing I asked? I said, I'm really scared about the tube in my mouth.
To be fair, the way you phrased that, you made it sound like you were asking if you would wake up in the middle of surgery.
No, okay, well, I don't remember that finite detail.
To be fair, is why I gave you the response I gave you. No, let's just hope not.
Well, that's not how I heard it.
That's not how you asked it.
How I heard it was, dude, don't worry. You're not going to have a tube. You're going to wake up. Everything's going to be fine. I've had 2 or 3 surgeries. I never had a tube in my mouth. You're going to be okay. Things are going to be fine.
That is so not what I said.
That's how I heard it.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it.
His question was, am I going to wake up in the middle of this thing with a tube down my throat? Well, my answer was no. I would hope you wouldn't wake up in the middle of open heart surgery with a tube down your throat.
It's not what I said.
You are stepped down from surgery post-op. So yes, you do have a tube down your throat.
That's not what I said.
That's not how you asked it.
And that's how I heard it from you.
So what happened when you woke up with a tube down your throat?
The first thing I thought of was, fuck you, Erica. That was my first.
Let's clarify, this isn't tube steak.
Yeah,
this is just a tube.
It's an endotracheal tube is what it's called.
Well, I didn't think that when I got out of surgery. First of all, and I'll say this, I've said this before, but and I'll say this with all earnesty and honesty. When they tell you somebody's coming out of surgery and they say, talk to them, they can hear you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they can.
Mm-hmm.
I can attest to that. I heard everything that was happening as I was coming out of it. And it gives me chills to say it now. But, you think, well, I'll never remember that. People don't remember. No. People know who's in the room and what they can hear.
See, and this was one of my arguments my entire time that I worked with patients. We have patients that are just completely, we call them uptended. They don't talk to you. We don't talk to them. It looks like they're not even cognitively there. Mm-hmm. But I always talk to them because I have always thought that deep down they can hear you. Ugh. Whether they can or cannot is not up to me to decide. But when we would move patients that way, I would tell them, we're going to move you over. We're here to take you X place. We're picking you up. You're going to be fine.
I've said this story 1,000 times. I know I've said it a few times on the podcast, but I remember coming out of surgery, post-op, out of surgery, and I can hear everything around me, equipment, bells, beeps, whistles.
And then cursing me.
And then having somebody nearby about as arm's length, about as far as Charlie is. And now in hindsight, I don't remember if it was male or female, but I remember hearing a voice saying, hey, cool, great, you're up, you're awake, don't worry. We're going to take the tube out of your mouth. Don't freak out, don't freak out. And then I thought,
cue the freak out.
Fuck you, Erica. I woke up with the tube in my mouth. That was my absolute first thought. And that's how we know we're friends.
Yes.
That's how far back Eric and I go. And then they took the tube out. And the tube felt like it was as big as this big gold.
Oh my gosh, I had a chest one that went in to drain my lungs, and they were like, I didn't notice it the whole time until they were going to take it out, and they're like, we're going to take the tube out, and I'm like, okay, I thought it was like a little oxygen tube or something. Then the doctor like grabs it with both hands, like it's some hose, and he's just like pulling it out. It was crazy.
It's like Battle of the Network Stars tug of war. McLean Stevenson pulling out. Wow, nice 70s reference, Vic.
Yeah.
Jeez,
you're kind of on your own there, man.
Yeah, well, I'm the only one. Thank you. Thank you. So I always have to tell that story when I get to hang out with Eric, and I don't get to hang out with you nearly enough as I wish I could. And the respect as an EMT, as the things that you've seen, I can't even imagine. I think, and Charlie and I mentioned this before, going through with what I've been through, my perception on a lot of things, what is more gruesome, whereas 10, 15 years ago, I could probably stomach all that. You know, I was on death.com. I was on all those horrible websites. I can't even look at that anymore. I can't even think about that. My perception of things has absolutely changed. So my respect for what it is that you've done and that you've seen and that there's probably stories you couldn't even begin to tell us. And I wouldn't want to hear them. I wouldn't want to know. The level is through the roof with you. It always has been.
So
but
true.
Especially since all that I've been through. And the fact that, and I say it jokingly telling the story, but the fact that you were, one of the last people I got to see before surgery meant the absolute world to me. I knew seeing you, and there was a group of friends who came by, and there were some that we didn't make a big deal about it. We didn't want a whole barrage of people in and out of the hospital room. But the fact that you were there and that you went, it made me feel at ease knowing that, okay, this is going to be all right. I had an expert with me, quote unquote expert with me, even though she did lie about the tube.
But also, fuck you, I woke up with a tube in my mouth.
Yeah,
Yes, there's that.
So we have that. So I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for being on the podcast this afternoon. And
Thanks for having me.
And because of Charlie and that we've all met, I think it's an amazing thing. And now, B, you're part of the circle as well.
Yes.
So welcome to that.
It's a really
Thank
odd
you.
one. It's more of an oval or oblong or whatever this is. But
It's a triangle, to be perfectly honest with you.
whoa.
Well, no, let's edit that out. Edit that out.
Wow.
It's a parallelogram. Edit that out. You're listening to. By the way, everybody, I don't think we'll have time to get to it before. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hope you guys have the best.
And if you're Charlie, fuck Christmas.
Yeah, fuck Christmas. Have a good Tuesday.
Climb up the Christmas tree downtown and jump off.
Oh wait, the lights went out. They can't find it.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. We couldn't even talk about that. We'll get into that next one.
We don't have time, but
Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ, that Christmas tree downtown looks like a fucking mushroom.
Right?
It doesn't even look like a Christmas tree.
You mentioned that
It's
with Chewy.
napalm.
It's horrible.
The lights
Looks like
were
shit.
better. Yeah, the lights were better. Where you said some
At the rink, at the skating rink that they're doing for Winterfest.
festival.
There was, I think, a hospital or a car dealership that donated a Christmas tree, and that thing looks way better than the downtown Christmas tree at the plaza.
I think our downtown. I'm going to say this. I'm saying it. I
Say
think
it.
our downtown Christmas tree is a perfect representation of El Paso.
Oh God,
Short, stocky.
mushroom like.
Kind of looks like it. But
Okay.
Not really there,
Rotund.
but- Yeah, rotund.
Oddly shaped.
Yeah, and it's got lights.
Always lit.
It's blinged out.
Leaning over.
Oh man, see what you did?
Only comes out once a year, so to speak.
Oh
I guess.
God,
I think those kids that were stealing the ornaments should have just chopped off the tree.
The tree.
they would have probably been hailed as heroes.
And by the way, maybe perhaps the next podcast, if it's before or right after Christmas, but we'll talk about the vacation. Here's something else Charlie doesn't like. Here goes my vacation to Vegas.
Oh,
we'll be
Vegas.
back from that after.
Oh, man.
I'd rather go to Las Vegas, New Mexico. There's more to see there.
But the rooms are cheap there, dirt cheap in Las Vegas.
You got to
New
share them
Mexico.
with a goat.
Yeah. Well, you get to get fresh milk in the morning. You're listening to Stay Tuned, El Paso. We've gone completely off the rails. Thanks,
man.
everybody, for listening. The podcast will be up soon enough. We've posted pictures. If you want to be part of the conversation, hashtag STEP. Also, Stay Tuned, El Paso. Follow the Facebook sites, the download sites. If you want to advertise, get a hold of me and Charlie, and we'll make sure to get you in the right direction. Thanks for listening, everybody. Appreciate you ladies hanging out with us today.
Special thanks to nequiemphoto.com for letting us use their studio, and go check out their website if you're looking for a great holiday gift for your loved one. They do great portrait photography, pinup boudoir, not bidet, boudoir photography.
They might do a
They
bidet.
might do bidet just for Charlie.
If that's what you're into.
Kink, light fetish photography, some
Bidet may
great
work.
stuff. Yeah. So
But
thank
no,
you guys.
seriously, this place is awesome. You guys need to check it out.
Yeah, it's a great place. They have the submissive litter box
Yes.
back there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have no idea.
I don't know how it
That-
works, but I want to try it.
Looks good. I'll be up on the X. Tie me up.
I don't know
on
where you
X
put the
behind
sand. Where do you put the cat litter?
Well,
There's the animal.
that's another podcast altogether,
Yeah.
Charlie. We can discuss this at a later time.
We will answer the question as to where we put cat litter. Also, thanks to Hero Music, always helping us out with the equipment and stuff like that. Charlie had to make a run. And, of course, B, thanks to your cafe. Go ahead and mention it one more time.
Café de Tolteca, 602 McGoffin, open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3 p.m.
Go ahead, swing by there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Be nice.
You are listening to Stay Tuned El Paso with Victor Cruz and Charlie Moreno.
The best thing to happen to El Paso ever.